It's awesome to be here. I know what it's like to have rushed into a room and have to try to settle in and be on the same wavelength. So I'll just do a little grounding exercise for us to get us all relaxed and present. So if you want to just close your eyes. Everybody else is closing their eyes, so don't worry about anything silly. You can take a big exhale, breath out. And big, deep inhale, breathing into the belly, expanding the ribs, the chest, pausing at the top. And exhale, let it go. Do that 2 more times. Big inhale, breathing in the energy of today, your Wednesday. And let it go. Last big inhale. How do you wish to feel for the next hour? Setting your intentions, pausing at the top, taking another sip of air, and let it all go. With your eyes closed, I want you to think about why you're here. You're here to learn about productivity, or to contribute to the student board that you're on, to check a box. Are you here because your friends are here? Are you here because you have nothing else to do? Are you trying to get somewhere in your career, in school, in life? And ultimately, why are you doing any of those things? Maybe because you want to get a good job, you want to have a solid community, you want to meet the partner of your dreams and have a family and buy a house, and for what? Because you want to feel connected, you want to feel safe. Why? Ultimately, at the end of the day, I think the thing that we're all working towards is a feeling of happiness. No matter the questions that you're asking yourself, all of the justifications that you give to why you're here today, why you're going to school, why you're trying to pursue a certain career, at the end of the day, it's all about being happy. And it's turtles all the way down. No matter how you look at it, we all have a shared mission to just enjoy this life. You can open your eyes. Knowing that you are here now in this moment, this is what you are showing up for. So figuring out a way to engage that feeling of happiness and joy, whatever it is you're ultimately trying to achieve, how can you have that and experience that now, here? And that's how I ended up here to begin with. So I'm Sianne. I have a digital marketing agency here in Austin where I help female founders communicate their value online, share their gifts with the world. And somehow I also ended up making productivity half my personality. I guess I'm really obsessed with it. I just got back from a week-long work-life balance retreat in Colombia where I took 18 founders out to Hacienda in the middle of nowhere in Medellin and taught them how to optimize their work-life balance, because ultimately how you do anything is how you do everything. So I force people to get up early in the morning and do yoga and meditate and eat healthy all day so that they can be their best selves at work. And then we work all day and then we reward ourselves with play. And ultimately, we're creating this regenerative cycle of fulfillment and joy. If you can't figure out how to enjoy the voluntary parts of your life, you're never going to figure out how to enjoy the work parts of your life. And that's really what I think productivity is. It's not just about getting a ton of stuff done. It's about taking responsibility for the time and energy that you're investing in whatever you're doing. And figuring out how to enjoy what it is you're doing and not just be a victim to the arbitrary rules of society. So like I said, I had a marketing agency and I do this whole coworking work-life balance thing that's all around productivity. And And yeah, like I said, productivity is all about taking ownership of your time and energy. And I guess like a bigger question is like, what does it get you? Sure, it's cool to get a lot of stuff done and to be using your time and energy intentionally, but what is productivity going to do for you in the short term and the long term? And I want to know from you guys, like, why are you here to hack your productivity? Why do you want to be more productive? Just open floor. Yeah?
Well, that's like I enjoy the things I'm doing.
There you go, yep. Back to that joy piece. Anybody else? Yeah?
I think so you can take advantage of life and do the most that you can with the short amount of time that you're here at this point.
Absolutely. Time is our most valuable asset, so making the most of it. I have found from instructing productivity for the last 3 years that being really productive can get you these virtues. So number one, developing trust with yourself. When you know how to manage your time, you know exactly how long something takes, you can trust yourself to get something done. That resonates in other parts of your life. Then you become a trustworthy friend, a trustworthy employee, a trustworthy professional, family member, whatever it is. You also feel more fulfilled. You know that feeling of like, I did it, and now like, what else can I do? And that just sets you on a track of momentum to see what other places of life you can excel in. It also helps you advocate for your worth. Like when you can trust yourself to get something done, and you know that you're the kind of person who accomplishes things, you get to tell your employer or your friend or your partner, like, I know what I'm worth, I know what I'm capable of, and I'm not going to settle for anything less. And lastly, I think what we've all been talking about is it allows you to design your life the way you want. Then you're not stuck in an 8-hour job that could take you 4 hours, and then you just figure out how to hack that system and gain more time back, your most valuable asset. But before you start being productive in anything, you probably want to figure out where you want to spend your time and energy, because if you're going to be productive, it might as well be towards something that you're really excited about. So I want us to get super clear on that now. What is it that we are working towards? What is it that we're going to be productive on? So if you could just turn to the person next to you, and I want each of you to take 1 minute to describe a day in your perfect life. Don't overthink it. This could be today, this could be 5 years from now, 10 years from now. This could be who you want to wake up next to, what kind of home you want to wake up in, the kinds of lunches you want to have, what you want to be doing for your nighttime routine, what kind of skincare products you want to use. Just dream big. The only limits are the ones that you put on yourself. So use the next minute to allow your imagination to run wild. Okay, so I'll give you partner A a minute starting now.
Oh yeah.
Does everyone have a partner? inspiring, motivating, relieving, yeah, validating. Awesome. Okay, based on what you shared, everybody should have sticky notes. I want you to take 3 of those sticky notes and on each one of them, write one big, long-term goal that you have for yourself, based on this dream that you just shared. And if you don't have sticky notes, they're up here, or you can borrow one from a neighbor. 3 big overarching goals. 3 big goals. Yeah, like I would put, like scale my company, find a partner. If you have a goal that you're excited about and you want to share, feel free to blurt it out because that might inspire somebody else to help them get clarity. Cool, y'all can keep thinking about this as we go along. But keep in mind that goal clarity equals goal velocity. And I encourage you to think of as many goals throughout your lifetime as possible. The more goals you have, the more likely you are to achieve them. So feel free to dream big and constantly be updating this list of goals, but to have 3 really solid ones that you're working towards is going to help you calibrate where you're putting your time and productivity. So, like I said, go ahead and keep thinking about these as you go, but you want to end up with 3 big overarching goals. And as we move throughout today's workshop, anything that you learned today that you want to implement, write it on a sticky note. Each sticky note can serve as an action item. So if you hear, I'm not going to tell you guys to use a planner because you're smart enough to know that. But if that was something that you learned, you would write, I'm going to use a planner on a sticky note. Okay? Cool. So let's just jump into it. Productivity, so many hacks, planners, Google calendars. You guys know these things. And I'm not going to tell you anything that is too obvious. You're all very smart, very ambitious people. I think what I want to share with you guys today are some larger, more holistic concepts that will not only help you be more productive in your schoolwork, but in every area of life, because again, how you do anything is how you do everything. So today we'll go over 3 holistic components of productivity: physical, mental, and environmental. We'll start with the most basic, just physical, your biology, your physiology. This is one sphere where you have the most control over. You get to decide what you put in your body, how you move your body, and this sets the baseline for your productivity. 95% of your serotonin is created in your gut, which means 95% of your capacity to experience happiness and joy is dependent on what's in your gut. So things like moving and eating healthy and staying hydrated and reducing stress are all going to help you access that serotonin that's going to make you more focused and more productive. If you are hungry or tired or thirsty while you're trying to get something done, part of your mental real estate is being taken up by your physiological needs. So it's really important to take care of your body first if you want to optimize your productivity. Some big things that I didn't know when I was in college that have really become apparent to me recently are, first of all, blood sugar. I thought it was cool to fast until like 2 p.m. every day, and then I would eat lunch and I would crash so hard, and then I would need a ton of coffee to get me back up, and it's just not a sustainable way of living. So I'm not a nutritionist, but you want to be like eating healthy foods throughout the day, things that are anti-inflammatory, low glycemic index, that means like low in sugar, and things that are like really nutrient dense so that you're not distracted by thinking of like, you know, your subconscious is like, I need more iron, I need more calcium, I need more protein. So keep in mind just like your macro and micronutrients. Also, your body runs on electricity. This is something that also didn't occur to me until recently. All of your cells, your blood, your neurons communicate via electricity. And in order for that to function, you need electrolytes and salts and magnesium. So that is like a major hack for me. As long as you're drinking a lot of electrolytes throughout the day, that's really going to affect your productivity. And then you guys all know, like sleep, get good sleep, get consistent sleep. And help yourself avoid this part that is like so an easy obstacle to overcome when it comes to productivity. The next part of your physical component of productivity is movement. And everybody here knows this. You should work out, you should run 20 minutes a day or get 20 minutes of cardio. Those things are obvious, so I want to tell you some more niche things. Number one, lifting increases your testosterone, which increases your energy and your motivation. This is why men are so goal-oriented, because they constantly have this testosterone. So lifting is really helpful for productivity. Also, we live in a world designed by men. So they're not really factoring in our cycles. How many of you track your periods? Yes, okay, of course you do, because you're all smart. Who knows the 4 phases of your cycle? Let's go, tell me.
I'm pulling in my outfit.
Okay. I'll help you out. It's menstrual, your bleed, your follicular, which is the first 2 weeks, ovulation, which is only like 3 to 5 days, and then luteal, which is 2 weeks. Each of those phases has their strengths and weaknesses when it comes to affecting your focus. So in your first 2 weeks of your cycle, you want to be doing things that are like really big, creative, things that require a ton of energy. In the last 2 weeks of your cycle, that's when your progesterone, your sedating hormone, is really high. So you want to be doing things that require deep focus, where you're not going to be distracted by a desire to be seen or be out running, doing things. So you can keep that in mind, like as you schedule your projects or what work you have. Also, this world is designed for sitting. The average college student sits 50 hours a week. You are in chairs, you are driving, you are studying. Most of what we do is sitting. So if you can mitigate some of that by getting up and moving your body as much as possible, what you're doing is you're circulating new blood to your brain, which you need in order to think and focus and be productive. So that's another reason why movement is important. And then obviously endorphins, and there's like a lot of stuck energy that gets stored in our hips. So as much as you can move your hips, you can just do like a little owl squat in the library. If you can like squat on top of your chair, just find different ways to be sitting so that you're not having all of this stuck anxiety or trauma just sitting in your hips all the time. I know it sounds small, but it makes a huge difference over time. The last part of movement as far as productivity goes is emotional awareness. So much of our procrastination and our stress when it comes to getting things done is this anxiety. And it's like an invisible thing that you don't realize is affecting you until you notice that you've been clenching your jaw and your shoulders are like this and your breath is really shallow and your heart is racing. So part of the physiology of productivity is just noticing. Just for a reason. Yes, it is messed up what your friend did to you. Yes, I can't believe my teacher assigned this much homework. All those things are valid and you can just witness them. Give them a little bit of love and care, and then choose something else. Choose to go move your body, to go hydrate, nourish, whatever you have to do, but noticing is the number one thing, and keeping in mind that it's all about progress over perfection. So if you can just like allow that anxiety to be there, it's totally okay, you don't have to get rid of it, but just noticing it is the first step in moving through it. So that's it for the physiological side of productivity. Now I want us to try it. So what's one thing that you can commit to doing that is going to enhance your productivity on a physical level? So you can write it on a sticky note now. Maybe it's, I'm going to track my period, I'm going to sit less, I'm going to drink electrolytes. Whatever it is, go ahead and write that down on your stickies. And if you have 2 things or 3 things, you can write each one of those on a new sticky. Like I said, the more notes, the better. Does anyone want to share a commitment that they're making?
Protein in the day.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's so much nutrition things that you guys can look into around productivity. Yeah.
Make time for the gym.
Yeah, totally. Even 20 minutes. Go ahead.
Stretch in the morning.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah, that's what I make my retreaters do. I trick them into stretching to make them work. That's it. All right, cool. Moving on. Once your physical being is taken care of, the next thing to pay attention to is your mind. This is such a choice. Every moment throughout the day, you get to make a choice. It's either going to be a choice related to fear and scarcity and lack and doubt and stress, or you can choose love, abundance, peace. It's always going to be a choice. There's this really cool anecdote about a tribe where one of the kids in the tribe had this nightmare about these 2 wolves fighting. And he asked an elder about it, and he asked him, like, which wolf is going to win? Is it going to be the light wolf or the dark wolf? And the elder said to him, whichever one you feed. And this is a metaphor for your mindset. Are you feeding the scarcity wolf, or are you feeding the abundance wolf? Are you feeding fear, or are you feeding love? And it is constantly a choice, no matter what. You don't have to be responsible for your first thought, but you are responsible for your second thought and your first action. And however you show up for your mind is going to dictate how you show up for your day. Humans on average think 60,000 thoughts a day, and 80% of them are negative. Do not be a statistic. Do not spend 80% of your life in negativity. Figure out ways to be constantly defaulting to positivity, to solutions, towards peace, towards the joy that you're ultimately working for. I'm going to give you some tips for how to do that. And after your physiology is taken care of, that's just baseline. That's how you get ahead. And then a huge part of it is dopamine. Who here knows what dopamine depletion is? Okay, it's just my friends. They're crazy. They talk about it all the time. It's almost annoying, so I had to include it in here. You guys know that you shouldn't be scrolling all the time. You know that you shouldn't be watching TV all the time. Your inputs affect your outputs. But I'm going to tell you exactly why this is not good for you. It's not just that it's a waste of time. There's actually a biological mechanism happening. Every time you get a quick hit of dopamine, you are depleting your dopamine storage. Dopamine is known as the motivation molecule. So the less you have of it, the less access you biologically have to focus and productivity. So don't waste it all. That's why they tell you not to get on your phone first thing in the morning. There is no such thing as a free lunch. Any dopamine that you're getting, any quick feel-good experience that you're having is sacrificing your long-term happiness. So a good way to think about it is, how can I do things that have delayed gratification? Going on a walk, not fun at first. By the end of it, you feel great. Drinking a ton of water, nobody likes it, but after you do it, you feel better. Other things like sun exposure, cold plunges, journaling, even music with a lot of like bass or stimulation, anything that makes you feel like, really high on dopamine is depleting your stores. So you can listen to binaural beats or music without lyrics that's not wasting all of this valuable resource that you have. Another thing that people don't realize is like how much sugar affects your dopamine. So I know that it like feels really good to reward yourself for your hard work with chocolate and French fries. I do it all the time. But try to save that for like end of day after you've really earned it and you don't need that storage of dopamine anymore. The next big part of this, okay, I love this. There's a really cool study about people who are the most successful, the most wealthy, and have the best health. And it's people who are okay with delayed gratification. So there's a researcher, Hal Hirschfield at UCLA, who dug into this. And what he did is he put people in an MRI machine, and he showed them pictures of themselves. And when he did that, a certain part of their brain lit up. And then he showed them pictures of total strangers off the street. A different part of their brain lit up. Then he showed them AI-generated pictures of them having aged. Guess which part of their brain lit up? The stranger part or the part that recognizes themselves?
Depends on how they view themselves or what they value.
Exactly. The people who were the most successful and healthy and financially well off recognized the part of their brain that lit up was the one that sees themselves. The people who had a harder time with delayed gratification, the people who are more hedonistic, are the ones who are not connected to a future version of themselves. That's essentially what hedonism is. It's these free lunches. It's avoiding the delayed gratification. It's the quick hits of dopamine. So when you can connect to an older version of yourself, a future self, then you are more inclined to make better decisions for a future version of you. Who here has woken up hungover with a bottle of water next to their bed and maybe an Advil? And you're like, yes, I set myself up. Or you find a snack in your car. And you're like, I did that for me. That is you taking care of future you. And that feeling that you get is a connection that you have to your future self. So really taking time to create that bond with the future version of you is what's going to serve you in the library studying late at night, even though you don't want to, you know you're doing it for a delayed gratification for a future version of you, and you're not going to choose the quick hit of dopamine or something that's going to throw you off of your productivity. You guys can look more into this study, it's really cool. There's so much that goes into it, but you might have heard like the marshmallow study or like Kylie Jenner telling her baby to go up with the M&M weight, that like level of patience, that's a virtue that's going to serve you in the long term and help you be more productive in the moment. So let's practice that. Okay, we kind of did it already with like thinking about our dream lives, but go ahead and close your eyes and imagine the future version of you, maybe the one that you described in your dream life to your friends. And allow your mind to populate with images of who you are in the future. What do you look like? What are you wearing? Who's around you? What are you eating for breakfast? What do your coworkers think of you? How does your family talk about you? And allow those images of the mind to synchronize with feelings in the heart. See yourself in the mirror, clear and healthy and smiling. Does that make you feel proud, relaxed, excited? Really allow yourself to be overwhelmed with the joy that emanates from your future self. Allow yourself to smile. You are creating this version of you right now. When you feel really connected to the future version of you, you can open your eyes. What y'all just did is called heartbreak coherence. It is a real scientific, measurable thing where you sync what's happening in your mind's eye with the frequency of your heart, and you create a magnetic field around you, and you're literally reconditioning your cognitive bias to seek opportunities to make your dreams a reality. You know, when you see, you decide that you want like a Jeep, and then you start seeing Jeeps everywhere. That's what you're conditioning by connecting to your future self. You start to look for opportunities. You start to see people celebrating you. You start to see your partner everywhere. You start to see the house that you're going to have. You start to find ways to make that dream a reality. So this is a really important part of being productive. If you want to get stuff done, you have to imagine yourself doing it. Not only that, but you have to feel it happening too. Like, how does it feel to have finished that essay that's due 2 weeks from now, but you did it 2 weeks in advance? How does it feel to be giving that presentation and to be receiving an A+ from your teacher? For your teacher to use you as an example for the next decade of what a perfect project looks like. Again, you're the only person putting limits on yourself. So use your imagination as an opportunity to dream really big. And make sure that you're connecting those images in your mind with the feelings in your heart. The first words in the Bible, in the New Testament, are, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by Him, and without Him was not anything made that was made. What does this mean? Everything starts in the mind. Every creation you see around you, this building was thought up by the Doty person. You know, Kendra Scott had a vision for designing it this way and having you all here. Somebody thought of having a baby and calling her Kendra Scott. Like, everything that happens around you, these floors, these chairs, the clothes you're wearing, started in somebody's mind. So this is why it's so essential that you choose your thoughts wisely. The study of choosing your thoughts is called neurolinguistic programming, and there's 3 really big parts that I want you guys to take away from today and on this subject in particular when it comes to neurolinguistic programming. Number 1 is the worst case versus the best case scenario. Our negativity bias as humans is totally natural. You know, we're watching out for the saber-toothed tiger. We're very aware of danger. What we haven't conditioned ourselves to default to is best case scenario. So you're spending a lot of time thinking about the 50% of the spectrum that's bad, and you're spending very little time considering all of the possibilities that are good, all of the crazy, wonderful things that could possibly happen. We're so programmed to think of all the bad things. So use your thoughts. Every time you have a bad thought, use that as a trigger to think about best case scenario. For example, my mom is very paranoid, and that has rubbed off on me, and I always think I'm going to get murdered. And so when I have the thought of somebody coming up behind me and stabbing me in the back as I'm running, I use that as a trigger to imagine somebody throwing a brick of money at my head. Both things equally likely, kind of. So what it's doing is just training myself to think like there's so many other amazing things that could happen. The second part of neurolinguistic programming that's really important is the reframe. So anytime you're having a negative experience, what's the reframe of that? Can somebody share something like stressful that's happening with them? A test, a friendship, whatever. What's something that's stressing you out right now? Yes, thank you.
Figuring out like my living situation for next year, that's like super stressful.
Yes, okay, that's a great example. The stress is, I don't know where I'm gonna live next year. The reframe is, I get to use my imagination to figure out what I want in a living situation. I get to find the perfect person who I want to live with. I get to go explore Austin and find new neighborhoods in one that I want to live in. So using that opportunity to always like, what's a good reframe here? If your friend is being mean to you, maybe the reframe is like, look, I have an opportunity here to express my needs to my friend and stand up for myself. That's the reframe. So always engaging that. And then the last thing is anchoring. This is a practice where when you feel like peak emotions, when you're so pumped, you're so proud of yourself, you're so inspired, find an anchor, like a physical thing you can do to summon that feeling when you need it. So for me, it's clapping. This is so lame, but I do it all the time. Anytime something like slightly wonderful happens to me, my assistant calls it like my dolphin clap, but I'll always do this. And then when I'm like really stressed out and I need it, and I need to summon that energy of being proud of myself, it's already programmed in me like Pavlov's dogs. Like once I do this, I feel a surge of positivity. So that's called anchoring, and you can do that at any time. So next time you feel that peak energy, figure out what it is you want to do. Maybe it's snapping, maybe it's like tapping your thigh, maybe it's twirling your hair, but you can always use that to get yourself out of a stressful state and get yourself back to the energy that you want to be on. Okay, that is everything for mental productivity. Now what I want you to do is find another sticky note and write down one commitment you can make as far as mental productivity goes. You could even get super specific, and if you're thinking of the thing that is like due tomorrow or due next week, your goal, the thing that you can write down is like, I write this essay in half the time that I think it's going to take, and I enjoy doing it. You know, that's like using that confirmation bias. Cool, and don't forget to be writing down action items as we go. If you think of something that's like, oh, I want to try that, go ahead and write it on a sticky. And we will move on to the last part of productivity, which is your environment. This one is harder to control. There's a lot of things happening outside of you. Maybe it's your family, maybe it's your living situation. There's only so much that you can do when it comes to like your external world. Biology, you've got mentality, you've got environment. Here are my best pieces of advice. Number one, your sphere of control. So thinking about the variables in your life that you can control. Like I said, biology, mentality, your strengths. Like what are you already good at that you can lean into? If you're really good at making friends, use that social capital to support you in other ways. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You could be friends with the smartest person in the room and then copy their homework. I'm just kidding. But learn from them, you know? Location, you know, like sitting in the front of class, you are predisposed to paying attention because you have fewer distractions sitting in front of you. When you go study, don't do it at a club, obviously. Do it in a quiet place. And inputs, you know, who are you following on social media? What podcasts are you listening to? What TV are you taking in? Being aware of those inputs. And one thing that I instilled like 5 years ago was thinking about who my friends are. You really do become the product of the people that you spend the most time with. And that's a hard thing to be confronted with in college. You have like a lot of people around you, lots of different dynamics happening. You want to be cool, you want to be included, you don't want FOMO. You don't want people to think that you're like not nice or like welcoming. But the reality is, the best service you can do for the world around you is to prioritize yourself. So if you're in a room where you don't feel good, yeah, maybe there's some things that you can change about yourself. It's not everybody else's problem. But also, maybe you're in the wrong room. Maybe you should be around people who do make you feel good. And if you are doing something wrong, you should be around people who are going to help you through that, who aren't just going to cut you off or make you feel bad about it, but support you through that. You know, we're not perfect, but we should be around people who make us feel like we're capable of being perfect. So one thing you can do is, based on that dream life, what are some things that you want for yourself? And I would choose 5. And find and recruit friends who embody those 5 things. 5 years ago, I was on a hike in Colorado and I realized I don't have any friends who have their nutrition down. So how am I supposed to figure out my nutrition if I'm around people who eat Doritos and, you know, want me to get ice cream with them all the time? Like, I'm obviously going to do that. So I need to be around people who are going to empower me and inspire me to make better choices. So, in your mind, or maybe turn to your partner actually, and share 5 types of people you're trying to call in. For me, at that time in Colorado, it was like somebody who's good with their nutrition, somebody who's like a salt of the earth, loving human being, somebody who like has their fitness down, an entrepreneur who's like got it together, and you know, whatever the 5th one was. But think of 5. Obviously, people can embody a bunch of different qualities, but just so that it's in your mind, like these are the people you're trying to call in. So I'll give you a minute each to share who are those 5 people that you want to help empower you to become a different version. Alright, cool. And you might have found that you already do have these people, or maybe you found an opportunity to call somebody new in, and just embrace that. Okay, now for the big daddy, the best for last, my favorite slide. This slide is what I've created my entire career on, so I'm pumped to share it with you guys. If you take one thing from this experience, it is the Pomodoro method. Does anyone here know about Pomodoro?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Lots of people don't, surprisingly. Pomodoro was developed by this like French scientist who realized that people have like 25 minutes of focus in time. I have found, after doing this with hundreds of people over the last few years, that 35-minute sprints are better. But essentially, what you do is you set a timer for 20 to 35 minutes, and then you are committed to one task for that entire 35 minutes. If you finish that task, you're moving on to the next one, but you are working for that entire 35. And then, all of a sudden, your breaks become all the more important and you use them more wisely. So this goes back to the more you get out of life, the more you can get out of work and vice versa. On retreats, I have people set out sprints for the entire day, and sometimes people's sprints are to read a book or take a nap. So this works for any part of your life. If it's your morning routine, if you have 3 hours in the morning, how many 35-minute sprints are there and what are you going to do for those? It's essentially an accountability mechanism. I have found the best way to do it, well, I have a timer because I'm a nerd, but I will sometimes put it on my phone, and if you put your timer on your phone, then that's what's up on there, and if you go to like check socials, you have to go out of the timer. So the accountability is right there. So I recommend putting it on your phone and just leaving it up. 6 reasons to do Pomodoro method. Number 1, it helps you know your priorities and take inventory of your time. If you are writing out your sprints for the day and 80% of them have to do with English class, maybe you're spending too much time on English class. Or maybe that's exactly how much time you should be spending on it, but it helps you get to know where your time is going. It also helps you prioritize. The way that I do this is like I write them out every day at the end of my workday. So so it's still top of mind for me, like what I have to do, what things are left over for the next day. So imagine yourself at the end of your school day, writing out all of your sticky notes for tomorrow. Each sticky note is a 35-minute sprint. So if you have to write an essay, maybe one 35-minute sprint is doing the research. The second 35 minutes is writing the outline. The third is doing your first draft. So you get to really understand how long things actually take you, and by chunking it down, you're learning how to motivate yourself in a realistic way. Because if you say, I'm gonna write 6 essays, and then all of a sudden you have 80 sticky notes, you're not gonna get that done, and you're gonna feel terrible about yourself having set that goal and not accomplished it. So it really helps you track and take inventory of your time. Next, it helps you use your breaks wisely to prevent burnout. A really cool rule of thumb is the 20-20-20 rule. In this case, it's the 35-20-20. But every 20 minutes, you take 20 seconds to look 20 feet in the distance. So that helps with macular degeneration, helps keep your eyes healthy. You can also add like 20 shakes, get your blood flowing, or 20 sips of water, whatever it is, but taking care of your mental and your physical needs. Again, it helps you learn to trust yourself and improve time management skills. So, this one has been huge. Like, setting all these goals every day and not accomplishing them really takes a toll on your confidence. But when you, at the end of the day, have finished 8 sticky notes and you have like a tangible record of everything that you've done, that feels so incredibly good, and you can show it to other people and be like, look what I did. You also want to make a habit of doing this at the end of every day, because then you're not wasting the first hour of your day figuring out what it is you're going to do that day. That task switching is so counterproductive. So knowing exactly what you're going to do during the day is super helpful to just get started on the right foot. Also helps you overcome procrastination. If you know you only have 8 35-minute sprints and you have to get these things done, you're going to get them done because you don't want to end up with no sticky notes finished. I know. And it helps you celebrate. So celebration is huge as far as motivation goes. It's this mechanism of saying, I can get things done. I am proud of myself. So programming yourself to see yourself that way. And for maximum effectiveness, you can have a body double. So get somebody else. This is a technique that they use with kids who have ADHD in school. You sit them across from somebody who does what they're supposed to do, and then your mirror neurons fire, and you start doing the thing that you're supposed to do because you see somebody else doing it. So it's kind of like low-key peer pressure. So I would recommend finding somebody who you want to do sprints with and be let's do 4 sprints together. And this is where your sticky notes come in handy. So what I would love to see you all do now is to write out 8 sticky notes for tomorrow. It's going to be an adjustment to figure out how long things actually take, but use this as your opportunity to get real with yourself about how long things take you so that you can feel the momentum of getting things done. You can use the sticky notes that you've already written. If one of them is, I want to drink more electrolytes, that's one of your sprints for tomorrow. So come up with 8 sticky notes that you're going to get done tomorrow. Okay, for the sake of time, I'm going to let you finish those later, but now you have the system, so hopefully that works for you. And I'll just end by saying, you guys, you're all smart, you're all ambitious, you know how to be productive, you know that you should be keeping a planner, you know that you should not be scrolling on social media, you know what you're doing. What you want to keep in mind is what you're all doing it for. What is the point of all of it? Why go to class? Why get your homework done? Why be productive? At the end of the day, it comes back to happiness. You want to feel fulfilled, you want to feel accomplished, you want to feel like you're a good student, a good friend, a good person. It's turtles all the way down. It is all about joy and happiness. So if nothing else, if you get stuck when it comes to your productivity, just remember why you're here, what it's all for, why you're doing it. With that, those are my best tips for productivity, and I would love to stay connected with you guys. You can add me on LinkedIn, you can come to coworking, you can check out the website, there's a ton of resources on there. Whatever it is, I am an open book and I'm happy to support you guys in whatever you need. If you have any questions or need somebody to body double and peer pressure you into being productive, I'm your girl. Thanks, y'all.